Can you guys hear me? Shit. Alright. Adam, can you give me a test 1, 2? Shit. Alright, I can't hear you. Offie, can you just say good morning? I want to hear if you go out before I put this out. Alright, I'm going out. Fuck is going on? Test. Give me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, like an early live before that.
Yeah, because I'd forgotten that it was scheduled for 11, so I had my alarm set for 9, and then I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, wait, it's at 11, and so I double checked that.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Strategy Show presented by Sleeper. Dave Loughran and Adam joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down a 13-game MLB slate today. Man, we had 15 yesterday. Now we got 15 today. It doesn't seem to end, but you know, sometimes these 13 to 15 gamers are a little bit easier to break down than others. How you feeling, man?
Yeah, pretty good, and looking forward to it. You and I have talked about it a lot. It's kind of nice on the bigger slates that you don't have to dive into a bunch of really bad pitching. And from a playing like from a DFS standpoint, it's fun too, because ownership obviously still matters, but you can more often just play the guys you want to play as opposed to, 5-6 game slates where you maybe end up not being able to do that.
Yeah, I'm sweating a tennis bet right now, so a little early morning.
Have you lost one yet?
What?
Have you lost one yet?
No, I think I'm about to lose this one though. I think I'm close to losing this one for sure. But all good. A lot of fun. And now we got 13 games to talk about today. How you feeling about this one? I mean, just does pitching stand out to you? Hitting stand out to you? I'm not sure if we have when I looked not long ago, we didn't even have a pitcher for the Dodgers yet in this Coors game.
Sure.
I see some probables or probable, but
I see Michael Grove, but I don't know if that's been confirmed.
Yeah, I looked on MLB. It hadn't been confirmed yet. So I don't know. I guess we'll figure this one out as we go. But yeah, dude, I know you didn't play last night because you went to the game, but 5-0. I mean, just a highly underwhelming game. Kind of what should be expected whenever a team has a 7.8 run total. You just expect things to go up in flames.
Yeah, I mean, it's a reminder. I know I said it a couple of times yesterday. Like, it was one of the best spots that you're going to get all year, and they were still going to fail like 80% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, it is how it is, and that's what we get. But anyway, we're right back at it today. 13 games. Very happy to have you guys with us. Take a single second, hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below if you're watching after the fact. Of course, if you're in podcast form, we know you're out there. We appreciate it. Ratings, reviews, subscribing to the pod, all that stuff goes a very long way for all of us. So thank you in advance for all of that. All right. So 13 games. We got a lot to talk about. What do you say we dive right into this one?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's make it happen. All right. So first up, Cincinnati and Baltimore. You got the Cincinnati Reds on the road. Luke Weaver, Kyle Gibson at home. 9.5 run total in this game. Cincinnati plus 150 on the money line. Of course, you guys know we'll be referencing the top pitchers tool, the top stacks tool, ownership projections, and all that stuff on the site to make things a little bit easier, especially early in the day when we don't have a ton of information. Anything that stands out to you in this pitching matchup specifically?
Neither guy is that good. Kyle Gibson is serviceable, but does give up some power. Luke Weaver certainly gives up power as well. Weaver relatively inexpensive, but you're getting a right-handed starter here. I've mentioned it in, I think, both of the first 2 games of the series that when you're getting the Orioles in Camden Yards from a DFS standpoint, from a hitting standpoint, you certainly prefer them to be facing right-handed pitching, and that's the case here. So on a 13 gamer, I don't think either guy is going to be particularly appealing. We have Gibson with a 7% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 5% projected ownership, Weaver 3% and 1% respectively. So neither guy looks like they're going to be particularly useful today.
What about bats in such a high total game?
Yeah, I think the bats are pretty appealing, particularly the Baltimore side. You do have Gibson, who does struggle with power a bit. Ellie De La Cruz is going to look really good as usual for Cincinnati. He's better from the left side. This park plays up left-handed power. You have Votto, Fraley, Friedel, all from the left side. In a park that's good for power. So they look fine. I think the Orioles side is more interesting. They have the higher implied run total. You have Weaver, who's allowed a 209 expected ISO to lefties, 224 to righties. You're going to get, Henderson, who's going to look very good. O'Hearn is cheap. Santander is relatively inexpensive. Mullins should be back at the top of the lineup. And then you still have value from Jordan Westbrook from the right side as well. So seems like a game where I'm more interested in the offense, particularly the Baltimore side.
Looking at ownership share right now. All right. I mean, Cincinnati coming in from a top stack perspective, 2% ownership, 2% top stack probability. Baltimore 6.5% ownership. Actually, third highest owned team right now as far as top stack share goes. Top stack percentage at 5%. So there is there definitely is something to be said about Baltimore right now. But again, going back to yesterday, and we'll get to this, of course, but top stack percentage for the Dodgers is just astronomically higher than everything else. Ownership significantly. Right now, Dodgers 21% top stack percentage. Next closest team is 6.6%. Leverage score, or I'm not leverage, sorry, ownership 20.7 to the Dodgers. Next is Cleveland at 7.1.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy. It's like the Dodgers are on like a completely different slate.
Yeah, and it didn't exactly work out unless you were just one-offing JD Martinez yesterday. It didn't work out for you, but we go right back to it today. Dodgers going up against a lefty, and we'll get to that one. But first, let's hit on this next game here. You've got the San Diego Padres, Pittsburgh Pirates, Blake Snell, Mitch Keller, two guys that have elite strikeout stuff. Damn, dude. Snell's strikeout stuff recently in particular has been insane. Last 3 games, 12 Ks in Colorado, 12 Ks against Tampa, and 11 Ks at San Francisco. Now he's going up against the Pirates. How much of Snell do you want to get to today at 10-3?
Yeah, I mean, the price tag's finally come up, but still is going to look good here. Good park. Brian Reynolds on the injured list weakens that lineup a bit. So yeah, he still looks good. We have him second in top 2 pitcher percentage behind Cody Senga. We always seem to have Senga at the top. But Snell coming in second, 29% ownership, projected to be the highest owned on the slate. And like you said, it's a situation where we talk about it a lot. You know, early in the season, you'll see pitchers or hitters struggling, and sometimes it continues, but more often than not, they end up getting back to what they've been at every other point in their career. And that's what we've seen with Snell. Early in the year, the strikeout numbers were down. He was still walking too many guys. He was failing constantly at like 8K. And you had a bunch of people, you know, like if you look at Twitter during the slate, you had a bunch of people, you know, I can't believe people are still playing Blake Snell in 2023, blah, blah, blah. Like those people are idiots. He's still Blake Snell. He's back to being Blake Snell. And it's what we expected. So the salaries come up, but, you know, still looks good. Very high strikeout ceiling for him. Decent spot.
Thank you, Red Skittles, just coming in to insult me out of the gate on a Tuesday morning. That always feels good. Laffy looks malnourished today. Hey, you know what, man? Appreciate you looking out. That type of stuff goes a long way. No, I didn't get home actually till midnight, dude. We just annihilated the other team, but we had
that's actually later than I got home.
Is it? Yeah, but we had a 10-20 game, and I'm just all amped up on the way home. Got a solid like 5 hours of sleep, but I wouldn't say malnourished. That seems just wildly demeaning. But hey, maybe I am. Feel okay. I feel better than I should for only getting 5 hours of sleep. Plus, we absolutely trashed these guys. But yeah, Snell and then Keller. Just are these? Is this the best? Like, okay, let me throw it to you this way. And I know you probably talked about it. I was too busy reading comments. Very nice ones at that. Mitch Keller, massive leverage score today, like 12% top 2 probability, 6% ownership. And then Snell, negative leverage, but still 17% top 2 probability, 29% ownership. What does that say to you about Keller at 9,900?
I think he's somebody where like he can land in specific tournament lineups. You know, like, I don't know how the salaries necessarily work out, but the Dodgers, for example, where you have this really, really popular team, somebody like Keller makes sense there if you can afford him, just because he is only getting 6% ownership compared to somebody like Snell, who's getting 5 times the ownership at a similar price tag. Snell projects better. He's in the better spot, but you have a similar range of outcomes for Keller. He's got good strikeout stuff. It's a tough matchup, but I mean, hitting still really hard, 27.7% K percentage. But in most lineups, you're going to prefer going somewhere else just because he's not going to project quite as well. You do have a 4.7 implied run total for the Padres. You have, a team that obviously has a lot of good hitting.
Do you have any interest in bats? I mean, this does not feel like a spot where bats would be in high priority.
No, I mean, the Padres getting 2% ownership, 4% chance of being the top stack. If you can get there, great, but they are pretty expensive. It's not a great hitter's park. It's not a great matchup. There's a million games with plenty of bad pitching to target.
And Red Skittle says, isn't that what you called Adam on Monday? I don't think I would have ever called you malnourished. You may have referred to yourself as that, but I didn't know.
Yeah, I think somebody in chat said it, and I agreed.
Yeah, I'm a stand-up guy. I look like I may have been on a 3-month heroin bender. That I'll give you that, which I guess would be malnourished. You just eat a bunch of chocolate. But yeah, I mean, outside, most people won't even understand that. But outside of pitching, I think we can move on from this one. Talk San Francisco and Toronto with me here, Adam. We've got, by the way, Kevin Gausman. That dude is just ridiculous. Like, I mean, it's gotten to a point where you just expect double-digit strikeouts each time he hits the mound.
I'm guessing that start went well yesterday.
I think he had 12 or something. 12. It's something ridiculous against a good San Francisco team too.
Yeah, the only thing I know from yesterday's slate is after I got home, I got a Twitter notification that Ohtani had been removed from pitching because of like a blister or something, and then immediately got another notification that he had hit a second home run, and it was just that's the only thing.
I mean, how does he not? And I see people talk. How does he not get more fanfare than he does? Like, this is the most remarkable baseball player that we might ever see when you think about pitching and hitting combined.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Same game.
Yeah, it's the best player any of us have ever seen.
And no one's like, yes, people, you and I know about it, but I guarantee you, if you went up to the random, like, casual baseball fan on the street and asked them about Bryce Harper and Mike Trout and those guys, and then we're like, yeah, but what do you know about Shohei Ohtani? They'd be like, yeah, I think he's pretty good, right? I think he's on the Angels.
Right. Yeah. The Major League Baseball is so bad at marketing their best players. They've done it with Trout for years.
I know. I know. By the way, Ohtani still went. He still went like 6 1/3 with 11 Ks or something ridiculous.
Yeah, somebody told me that he was in like the winning lineup, I think.
Yeah, I'd seen you tweet about the whole, if he's in your lineup close, like if the bad beat and everything.
Yeah.
But he still had a remarkable game pitching as well. So
right.
he just went full scorched earth. It was amazing. Let's talk about San Francisco and Toronto, though. Logan Webb, and I don't think we have a confirmed pitcher for Toronto yet, unless we do now, and because we didn't like an hour ago.
I see Trevor Richards, but
yeah, I think this is who's expected, but I don't know if he's confirmed yet. Anyway, we do have a line, 8.5 run total, Giants plus 100. So very even. I hate saying plus 100 on the money line because it's not like even money here, but we'll say even. I mean, it is technically, but even money for the San Francisco Giants on the road. What do you want to do with pitching here specifically? And obviously Logan Webb.
Yeah, not too much. Webb sort of in that Mitch Keller category where in large field, top heavy tournaments, if you're using him as a contrarian play, that's fine. He's really good, but you get a park downgrade going into Rogers Center. You have a tough matchup, both in terms of a dangerous offense and an offense that's difficult to strike out. 21.9% K percentage against righties on Toronto's active roster, 112 WRC plus. So Webb's good. He keeps the ball on the ground. His strikeout numbers are solid, 24% K rate, 3.05 xFIP, but he's pretty expensive in a tough spot. He's the most expensive pitcher on DraftKings other than Zach Eflin against Arizona. So again, high upside, but you can get a similar range of outcomes for less. You can get guys that are similarly talented in better matchups. So I think it's purely a tournament play. As far as Richards goes at 5,500, there is some strikeout stuff there. He's not going to go deep into the game. I don't think you're going to need that on a 13-game slate.
That is it is such a wild thing to think about that Chris Raptor said that Ohtani provided his own run support. To think about that it's put your mind in a pretzel. Like they won 4-2 and he had 2 RBIs. And 2
yeah, it's crazy. So, and this isn't directly Ohtani related, but I don't follow college baseball that closely. But apparently the guy that started pitching for Florida in the final game of the championship series, like I saw a highlight of him striking somebody out on like a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. The dude also had 33 home runs this year.
Really?
Yeah, the guy for Florida.
Okay. Yeah. So what do his prospects look like going forward?
I'm not sure. I'd never heard the name.
Oh.
But like he might just like not be eligible for this year's draft. I don't even know what year he is.
It's always funny though with baseball and other sports, like in football, and in basketball, college, you could be the best ever and then just have no prospects for the NFL, right? Like not project well for the NFL.
Right.
Maybe you get drafted later, you don't get drafted at all, and it never shapes up, and you end up playing in the CFL or whatever. But like with baseball, don't you think that's different in the sense, like if you're really good in the minors, it's a game that now granted, you could be great and then just it's a weird sport and you just never become good, or it takes you till you're 30, but it translates so much better from college into the major leagues.
Yeah, as long as you're playing in a real conference. If you're like,
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, if you're tearing up that conference, you're probably going to be at least, a highly regarded prospect in the draft. I just pulled up the guy from Florida. He's not draft eligible this year because he's still only 20 and he's only played 2 seasons.
All right. Do you have any interest in bats today for Toronto or San Francisco?
Not too much. 4.4 implied run total for Toronto, 4.1 for the Giants. Like I said, Webb's a really good pitcher. Not the easiest to get to from a DFS standpoint today, but I think the case for Toronto would just simply be they have good hitters and they're in a good hitter's park. But other than that, it's not like you really want to target Webb. On the Giants side, they do have power. They do get a park upgrade. Richards has always had a really good changeup. Typically, that's something you're going to see neutralize left-handed bats. Now, he has had some power issues this year. He's mostly worked out of the bullpen. He's been starting games recently with Alek Manoah imploding. And against lefties, he has a 30% strikeout percentage. He has also allowed a 233 expected ISO. If you wanted to just try and grab a home run or two, Lamont Wade, Jock Peterson, Michael Conforto, I think any of those guys are fine. But again, it's just not a team that's really going to stand out on a slate of this size.
Talk about Miami and Boston. Braxton Garrett versus TBD. This game doesn't even have a line up. I will refresh just to make sure that they haven't posted one within. There we go. Okay. So still DraftKings Sportsbook still not showing a starter, but we do have a line. And I suppose we can take a look at who we think it'll be.
Caleb Ort is expected to open.
Who is it?
Caleb Ort.
Okay. He's expected to open, and we don't know about the long reliever yet, I assume.
Right. The most pitches he's thrown in a game this year is 32.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if any, you're getting 2 innings out of him.
Yeah. We're not worried about Boston pitching. It looks like a bullpen game.
Yep. Yeah. Certainly not worried about talking about or who we're going to play from Boston. Braxton Garrett on the other side of this one. This game, both sides minus 110 on the money line, 9-run total. Braxton Garrett being one of these guys who has pretty decent strikeout stuff. He can pitch relatively deep into games, coming off a 13 strikeout game as well against the Pittsburgh Pirates, 8,700 on DraftKings. Do you have any interest here against this Boston lineup?
It's a tough matchup. I think at 8,700, that's a decent price tag, but you have to keep in mind, not only is it a tough matchup, but pretty big park downgrade too, getting out of Miami, going into Fenway Park. The strikeout stuff is there for Garrett. He's struck out 29.8% of hitters this year. The only pitchers on today's slate with higher strikeout percentages are Caleb Ort, who isn't going deep into the game, Trevor Richards, who isn't going that deep into the game, and Blake Snell. So the upside is certainly there. 2.63 xFIP for Garrett, but it is also a dangerous spot. Right now, we have Garrett middle of the pack with an 8.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 1% ownership. I don't know if those numbers will change once we get a line or not, but I think it's a high upside mid-range play. Certainly not safe though.
What, like you said, bullpen game for Boston. We're not necessarily sure who's the long reliever is going to be. And then Boston bats here, looking at it now. And of course we're going to have to get that update for whoever we have. And that'll certainly make a difference, but Boston getting 3.7% ownership share. We have Miami right now, 5% ownership with 4% top stack probability, just knowing that they're going up against this Boston bullpen outside of Ort. But is there anything we can say much about hitting? Because we're going to get into a few games that have some really nice hitting options.
Yeah, it's a good park. There is some power here. You do have Jazz Chisholm back for Miami, so that's nice. SMP mentioned it in chat that you could get Pivetta as the long guy for Boston. He is in the bullpen because he's pitched like shit this year, and he's always had power issues. So there is certainly upside for Miami. They're not super cheap, but there are some really inexpensive bats within the lineup. Like Arise, Soler, Chisholm are expensive, but other than that, everybody is sub 4K. So decent value stack, I think. Probably a team that would be kind of appealing to like 3-man stack with a better offense.
Milwaukee and the New York Mets, 8.5 run total. Milwaukee plus 130 on the road. Wade Miley, our friend Dan Strafford, big Made Wiley. Made Wiley Day. And Kodai Senga, really interesting spot for Senga for sure. He's getting 18% ownership, 18% top 2 play probability. You know that the strikeout upside is there. You know this is a Milwaukee team that strikes out at a very solid clip. How do we want to approach this one today? Looking at the numbers, looking at the ownership right now, 28% strikeout rate for him. Walks a good amount of batters at 13.3%. But the Milwaukee Brewers, as I mentioned, are one of those teams that will strike out a lot. You could see a nice number there in the K column for Senga today.
Yeah, 28% K percentage for the season. Milwaukee's active roster, not only a 24% K percentage against right-handed pitching, but also a 91 WRC plus. Just not a very good offense. Park downgrade for them going from Miller Park to Citi Field in New York. 3.9 implied run total. A lot of slates we get Senga. It's like, oh, he's projecting for 8% ownership because he's in some brutal matchup. Here you get a better matchup. We have him first in top 2 pitcher percentage, slightly ahead of Snell at 18% ownership. So we have him projected to go a little bit under owned relative to Snell and Aaron Nola, who are Snell's pulling more ownership. Nola's pulling the same ownership with a lower top 2 pitcher percentage. We do typically tend to be high on Senga, which I don't think is wrong. I think he's a good pitcher. I think you're going to see him continue to improve. Like you said, he walks too many guys, but that's really been the only real struggle he's had this year. 13% walk percentage is certainly higher than you'd like to see, and it contributes to a 4.04 xFIP, but 1.06 home runs per 9. His expected power numbers aren't anything alarming. Slightly below 100 expected ISO to lefties, 173 to righties. Strikes guys out from both sides of the plate at above average rates. He looks very good to me.
He looks really good, yeah. And I was surprised. Honestly, I thought that he'd be getting a little bit more ownership, but that price point is clearly keeping him down a little bit because he's someone that's been underpriced all season long up until now.
There are also typically, and I'm kind of trying to quickly look. Yeah, even kind of the case today. There's a pretty big gap between some other popular projection models that people use and our projections. So I think that's why you see the ownership coming in lower. Like if everything in the industry was in line with us, he'd get more ownership. But I think you're just going to see that sort of pull him down. But like I said, I am fully on board with the way we have him projected. I think it's a good spot. I think he's a very good pitcher.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, up until it was 3 starts ago, really, it was 9,300, and then he's been above 10K for a few of them now, which makes sense. You're starting to see that price point reflect where he is, talent-wise. Any interest in Wade Miley today against the Mets?
I can't say that I do.
Okay. Yeah, he's currently pulling 0.5% ownership right now, 2% top 2 probability. No surprise there. What about Mets bats against Wade Miley today?
Modest interest, I guess. 212 expected ISO to righties, only a 12.7% K percentage, 162 expected ISO with a 21% K rate to lefties. Not surprisingly, it's going to be right-handed bats that stand out the most. Tommy Pham at 3,200, it actually looks like a pretty good value. Pete Alonso is obviously a good play. Francisco Alvarez is going to be a high upside catching option. We have the Mets right now in terms of top stack percentage, middle of the pack, 3% chance of being the top stack. To put it in context, you have the Dodgers at the top that you mentioned earlier at 21%. Cleveland second at 6.5. So coming in at 3%, you have 5 teams on this slate with a greater than 4% chance of being the top stack. So 3% obviously is low, but it's not saying like, oh, this is a terrible spot for the Mets. It's saying there's 26 offenses on the slate, and one of them is in course.
For sure.
2 are in course, but one is the Dodgers in course.
And Miley's ground ball rate is down a ton. Against righties this year, 38%. That's not what you're looking for a guy that has a 12% K rate against righties as well. I think you might begin to see some games where he starts getting tuned up a little bit by right-handed bats.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. He's the kind of guy where, you could see it turn around too, where he just starts getting more ground balls.
Absolutely.
But he is somebody that I always expect guys like him to fall off pretty quickly, just because even in their prime, they're in his prime, he had such a small margin for error. It's not like he had great stuff. It was command, an ability to keep the ball on the ground. As you get older, a lot of times that stuff just falls off. And so I'm more inclined to think like Miley might just be sort of on his way out, as opposed to like somebody like Snell, who's still in his prime, still throwing hard. Somebody like that, you're like, okay, it would be weird if he doesn't turn things around. Aaron Nola, another example.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of them. Baseball's a weird sport like that. One day they just fall off, they bounce back, then they're gone again. Who knows? But anyway, let's talk about Houston and the St. Louis Cardinals. Christian Javier, Miles Mikolas. Javier last game got, that was a really strange start. He just had absolutely nothing going for him whatsoever. Minus 6.8 DraftKings points in that one. Didn't get out of the third inning. One strikeout, couldn't miss any bats. It was just such an odd start for a quality pitcher against the Mets. But the thing about him is the price, the ceiling on someone like Javier, it's tough to justify that a lot of times at his price point, almost $10,000, where he's a good pitcher, no doubt, but he also has, 22.3% K rate, which is fine. Again, I don't know. And then going up against St. Louis, he's gone 7 innings. He's gone more than 6 innings once all season long. All season long, he's gone more than 6 innings once. He's good, but in a tough matchup without elite strikeout stuff, do you want to be paying $10K for him today?
It's a tough sell. It has been for a while this year. 1% ownership is, I think, the entire selling point, but you can get low owned guys in that price range that look better. I mean, Mitch Keller is $200 more, 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher compared to 8%, getting 6% ownership. Eflin's not getting any. He's $1,200 more. Webb, tough spot, getting 4%. So even if you're going the route of like lower projection, but less ownership, I don't think Javier is the first guy you get to. It's not like it's a great strikeout matchup against the Cards either. Their active roster so far this year, 20.9% K percentage against righties, 110 WRC plus. Javier's, I think, really been overpriced for most of the season, and it's the same thing here.
What about on the other side with Mikolas or bats in this game?
Mikolas is kind of just a guy, 16% strikeout percentage, 4.5 xFIP. When he's cheap and in a good matchup, he's a decent DFS play. That's not really the case today. Houston's lineup isn't great without Yordan Alvarez, but they still have a strong, top and middle of the order in particular. Relatively difficult to strike out, 21.7% K percentage on their active roster. But when you look at the individual bats, particularly at the top and in the middle, Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Abreu, like not the best strikeout spot for Mikolas either at 7,200. I don't have too much interest there.
Joey Wentz, Dane Dunning, Detroit plus 190 in this game, 9.5 run total. This is where I used my Dinger Tuesday bet yesterday on Ezekiel Duran, and that was good. His last plate appearance, Smokes won, and we were in business. They ended up
incredibly good this year.
Yeah, you look at those numbers, especially for an 8-hole hitter. Like he's been really, really good. Power too.
Oh yeah. I was looking the other day because I wanted to see where Austin Hayes compared to American League outfielders. And Hayes was 4th among like all outfielders that have at least 200 plate appearances in WRC plus. Duran was 5th. And I was like, okay, I didn't expect to see that name there.
Wow. Yeah, he's been good, man. Been very, very good. And we'll take it.
Those 222 ISO, 149 WRC plus.
Really good. Yeah. And those FanDuel promos are awesome too, because you bet $25+ on a home run if you opt in. And if they don't get the homer, but if they don't get the homer, you still get a $5 bonus bet for every homer in the game. So like there could be 5 homers in that game. You max it at 5 and then you end up getting your full bet back, or there's 4 or 5 homers and your homer hits, and then you're just swimming in it. So really, that's like the best promo out there. I absolutely love that. We've hit 2 in a row now. Yoshida plus 750 last week, and then Duran plus 680 yesterday, both on FanDuel. Keep trying to see if we keep that magic alive. I threw that in Chalkboard as well. All those picks are free. Threw it on Twitter. So come hang out with us. Chalkboard link in the description. Follow me and Adam on Twitter as well. Ship My Money DFS and Loppy_D. Let's talk about Detroit and Texas here. Joey Wentz, Dane Dunning. I'm not necessarily sure how much we're going to have of either of these guys. Wentz getting virtually no ownership on a slate like this, 2% in a tough matchup in Texas. Dane Dunning, 6,100. He is, however, getting a lot of ownership at 22% in a pretty decent matchup against the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I got kind of excited when you said because I hadn't looked at the ownership yet. So I got kind of excited when you said you didn't know if you were going to get to either of them. I was like,
I looked at the wrong player when I was looking
okay.
at Dunning. I was looking over on the wrong ownership.
Because it's not like I love Dane Dunning. He's not a good strikeout pitcher, but he is fully stretched out. He went 7 innings last start. He's $6,100 facing the Tigers. So if you were going to tell me that he wasn't getting ownership, I was going to be really interested. At 22%, I think he's fine. Like, he's getting that ownership because he is one of the better value options. We have him with a 17.5% chance of being a top 2 value, $6,100, good matchup against the Tigers. But again, not a good strikeout pitcher, 14% strikeout percentage this year, 4.69 xFIP. It's a lot of times when we talk about value pitching, it's either, is this like a young guy that just got called up and they haven't fixed his price tag and you are actually like looking to get to him? Or is this, I want to get to the expensive bats and cores, I want to get to some expensive one-offs, and I'm going to just suck it up and play Dunning? And it's the latter. He's not an exciting pitcher, but he is underpriced.
Okay. With that in mind, though, do you think we have some stack options? I mean, from a viability standpoint, Texas against Joey Wentz, against the lefty in Texas, 9.5 run total game. They have a 5.8 implied run total according to our top stacks tool right now. They also have the third highest top stack probability, essentially tied for second with Cleveland and Tampa Bay. What do you want to do with these Texas Ranger bats tonight?
Yeah, Texas looks pretty good. We haven't had a lot of stacks that we've liked today, but Texas coming in third in top stack percentage at 6%, 5% ownership. And the nice thing about Coors slates is, if the Coors game just weren't on this slate, you'd be getting more ownership coming into Texas. But because the Dodgers exist, it pretty much just makes it so every other offense is not at an ownership level that you're really worried about. And that's the case for Texas here as well. They are pretty expensive, Semien, Seager, Garcia in particular. But there's a lot of upside here, a lot of power. Lefty for Seager, lefty for Lowe. Rest of the lineup should be right-handed. We just talked about Durant having a great year. He's still only 3,400, hitting toward the bottom of that order. That's a nice way you can save some salary. You have 2 different catching options, most likely with Jonah Heim and Mitch Garver. It looks like one of the best non-Dodger stacks.
Any interest in Detroit?
Not really. Dunning, 108 expected ISO to lefties this year, 209 to righties. Carpenter, Torkelson, Vierling. Like, if you get to those guys as a mini stack or one-offs, I guess it's okay. Again, Dunning's not a great pitcher, but with it being a 13 gamer, I don't think you need too much Detroit.
All right, 7 down, few to go here. Say hello to our sponsor, Sleeper. Remember I was telling you guys the other day, whenever you get an opportunity to take advantage of sign-up bonuses, you do it because you're leaving money on the table. It's that simple. You got, all of these pick'em sites like Prize Picks and Underdog and Drafters, and all of them in their own right are great. But I guarantee you've already maxed out your deposit bonus on them, right? Like Prize Picks, if you're over there. I know a ton of you guys that watch this show play on Prize Picks. First match deposit bonus up to $100. You got it already. Over at Underdog, we play best ball. We play the daily drafts. We play pick'em there. First match deposit bonus up to $100, 100% match. Are you on Sleeper yet? Did you take advantage of the $100? It's that simple. When you really think about it, I look at it from like a sportsbook perspective, and Adam and I have talked about this a lot when he first, signed up for all these books in Maryland. Josh talking about yesterday when it becomes legal in Carolina, which should be shortly. What you do is you literally go to every single book, and if you're able to do it, you max out all of their sign-up bonuses. And maybe you can't max out like a $1,200 first bet insurance, like a risk-free bet, but you're certainly going to DraftKings and you're saying, all right, $10 and I get a $200 in bonus bets. FanDuel, $5, $150 in bonus bets. Same exact thing applies for these pick'em sites. You're talking about $100 in turns into another $100 at Sleeper. Links in the description and in chat, by the way. Simplest way, like the easiest way to crystallize this is you go, all right, I have $100 on Prize Picks. I can play five pick flex play cards for $20. Okay. Go over to Sleeper, put $100 in. Now you have $200. You can play 10 $20 cards. Why would you not want to maximize all of that across the board? Plus, you've got free squares all of the time on these sites. Like, if you have a free square on Prize Picks that day, you absolutely know that you have to take advantage of the free square. If on Underdog, you have a discounted play and all of that stuff, you take advantage of that. Sleeper, you've got a massive discount on Aaron Nola today. So just like you would shop around odds on DraftKings and FanDuel and Caesars and all of that, you shop odds, you shop these props on all of these sports books. And the last thing I'll say, the dynamic pricing, the dynamic payouts that they have is super cool. You can up to 100x all of your, you can up to 100x your entry. And I'm talking about home run props. Maybe you're in non-legal betting states. This is the only pick'em site that has home run props, that has home run spots that you can throw into your card because they have the dynamic payouts with the multipliers. It's really, really a cool site. 100% deposit match bonus up to $100, and the Aaron Nola free square today, plus all of the dynamic payouts that allow you to get home run props and all of these plus money props that you wouldn't be able to get on any other pick'em site. So check it out. Link in the description and in chat if you want to take advantage of all of these bonuses and get that free $100 when you sign up and double your bankroll out of the gate. Sleeper, sponsor of the MLB Strategy Show. This is a good one for sure. Yeah, Kyle said Sleeper's pretty sick. It is. It's a good one for sure. All right.
Did you know Ellie De La Cruz has a 5'8" twin brother?
Who didn't know that?
So you didn't.
It's funny though, because his sister is 6'9".
Yeah, I'm sure she is.
No, I did not know that he had a 5'8". I did not know he had a 5'8" twin brother. No.
Neither did I. I just saw Jeff Passan tweet it, but like he's 6'5". It seems weird.
Is it Jeff Hassan or Jeff Hassan?
Passan, I'm pretty sure.
I meant that Passan or Passan. Is it Passan?
I think. I don't know. I think I've said it wrong for like years and then finally realized I was wrong. And I think Passan is
okay, because I've always called him Jeff Passan.
That's how I've always like said it in my head. And then I think I finally heard it and was like, oh, I've been doing that wrong.
It does make sense the way that you're saying it. Anything else for Detroit? No, I think we covered that. Let's get to Philly and Chicago here. Philly minus 125. Someone asked if we're covering the Braves game. Now that's a showdown slate. We got 13 games to talk about. Philly minus 125 money line coming off a 5-1 win yesterday in Chicago. 8-run total in this game. We've got Aaron Nola. Like I said, they had the Mike, do me a favor. Can you go on to the Sleeper app real quick and tell me if they have that up? Let me actually check to see if they gave us that yet. Because what's that? Is it still the question mark? Yeah, it looks like it's still the question mark with the pick on sale. So we know we're going to get a big discount on Aaron Nola. We just don't know how much it's going to be. Regardless, you're getting $100 for free when you sign up and deposit. But Aaron Nola and Drew Smiley. Let's talk about Nola here against the Cubs. Any interest in this spot today?
Yeah, $10,400 price tag is expensive, but nothing too crazy. Strikeout percentage is at 24%. That's a little bit lower than you expect from Nola, but he's been pitching better recently. Started out the season slowly. That number probably finishes up around 27, 28% by the end of the year. Looks pretty good here. 3.93 exit for the season. No Wrigley wind hurting him. Looks like it's like 5-6 miles an hour, if anything, probably blowing in. So no real concerns there. 3.8 implied run total for the Cubs. It looks like a good spot. The one thing that did stand out in the top pitchers tool that I mentioned earlier is that he is projected right now for basically the same ownership as Senga, with a 15% chance of being a top 2 pitcher compared to 18. So between the two, with the way everything looks right now, I would go Senga first, but Nola still looks good against the Cubs. And also when you compare him to Snell, probably not getting enough ownership. Like the Senga, Snell, Nola, $10,100 to $10,400 range kind of to me looks like they should all be like similarly owned. Senga probably should be getting the most, but Snell's the one pulling the most right now. So it does create an interesting situation where like maybe instead of 30% Snell, you play like 18 to 20% Snell, and that lets you get a little bit more Senga, a little bit more Nola.
Do you have any interest in bats on either side?
Not a ton. Smiley is decent. If you want to try and get, home run or two off him, you can. You obviously have a lot of upside with Turner, Castellanos, Realmuto, Bohm from the right side. Schwarber and Harper, lefty are fine as well, but 4.2 implied run total, nothing overly exciting.
Yeah, Mike just threw a picture up of Ellie De La Cruz's brother. That is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he got the shit end of the stick, huh? Oh, he plays baseball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was in Gulf Coast League Pirates.
Huh.
But then league was canceled due to COVID. Bounced back in 21 playing for. Okay, his name is O'Neal Cruz.
No. O'Neal Cruz is a 6'7" shortstop with the Pirates.
It said O'Neal Cruz, Ellie De La Cruz twin brother.
Then maybe he has the same name, but
Maybe it's O'Neal De La Cruz and they just did it wrong. Well, that's weird. Google lied to me. Huh. Maybe he doesn't play baseball. No, whatever. Anyway, I guess it's time to move on. We can talk about Cleveland and Kansas City too. Logan Allen, Austin Cox, two lefties on the mound today. Cleveland minus 130, 9.5 run total here. We've got Cleveland again with a pretty high top stack probability, 6.6%. Highest top value percentage on the slate as far as stacks go, 7% ownership, second highest behind the Dodgers. You buying into this today for the Cleveland Guardians?
yes and no. It's a solid matchup, but also they suck. Cox, not a highly regarded prospect. He's 26. He's not really a prospect at all. 6 games out of the bullpen with Kansas City this year, 8 starts at AAA, 10 total games there. Rest of the season, he projects for about a 20% K percentage, 4.5 FIP. Doesn't look like that good of a pitcher. You do have Cleveland, obviously you're happy to get to Jose Ramirez. You're happy to get to Ahmed Rosario, who's only 3,700. Josh Bell is sub 3K. He'll be hitting right-handed here. So they look good. Like they have a 5-run implied total. I'm a little surprised that they have the second highest top stack percentage just because overall their offense sucks and they're also not in a great hitter's park. So like just a little surprised that they're ahead of Texas, ahead of Tampa Bay, ahead of Baltimore, but still think, especially from a value standpoint, they make some sense.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Allen is one of those guys too, where he was flashing some strikeout stuff, but I'm not really sure what we should make of somebody like Logan Allen. 5% ownership today. We do have him with a 10.6% top 2 probability in the top pitchers tool. But at the same time, is this a guy that you're looking to pay, $8,000 for on a 13 game slate?
I think he looks pretty good here.
Okay.
Not a bad matchup at all against KC. Only $8,000. Only getting 5% ownership is kind of surprising. 10.5% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. His last start, he only went 4 innings. He threw 89 pitches in 4 innings. They're probably not going to let him go super deep into games, but he has exceeded 100 pitches 3 times this year. He's having a good rookie season overall. 22.5% strikeout percentage, 4.1 xFIP, pretty solid numbers, less than a home run per 9 innings. Kansas City, as I said before, just not a good offense. So good matchup there. 97 WRC plus, 23.3% K percentage on their active roster against left-handed pitching since the start of last year. I like Allen, especially at only 5% owned.
You have any other interesting bats on either side of this one?
Not particularly.
All right, let's talk about the Dodgers in Colorado. So we know that Kyle Freeland's on the mound. That's for certain. As far as the Dodgers side of the ball goes, I'm not sure we have anybody confirmed yet. Michael Grove, let's see. I'm trying to see if we have any confirmation yet, like if anything has changed.
DraftKings has him listed as the probable pitcher. I don't know if that's been confirmed. FanGraphs has him as the probable pitcher.
Yeah. Books still don't even have this game on the board though. So I don't know. We can talk about it and work under the assumption that he is going to be starting today. That's fine. I don't have a line for this game, but you know that the Dodgers are going to be favored. They're going to have a high implied total, of course. So, par for the course in the Dodgers at Coors Field state game. Maybe things are different than they were yesterday. We'll start with Dodger bats here. How do you approach something like this, just popping everywhere in our tools today?
Yeah, same way you did yesterday. They're going to look far and away like the best team to get to. You're going to want to get to them. The nice thing about a slate of this size is even though they're going to be really popular, you're still probably looking at like 20 to 25% ownership on most of these guys. It's not like if it were a 6-game slate and you're potentially getting like that Angels game the other day when they scored 20, however many runs, and Shohei Ohtani's like 47% owned. Mike Trout was like 38%. You're not expecting to see ownership numbers like that. Mookie Betts right now leading the way at 26%. So it's still very, very popular, but it's at least a reasonable number. And because you have so many other games to choose from, you can find very low owned pitching and or secondary stacks to go with them. So it makes it a little bit easier to play them, to differentiate. They're going to look really good. Freeland isn't horrible, but he's not somebody that, you know, you're shying away from taking bats against in cores. 222 expected ISO to righties in particular this year with a 365 expected WOBA. Mookie's going to look really good. Smith, Martinez are going to look great. You probably have a cheap Johnny DeLuca in there at 2,700. We have him actually projected to be the second highest owned guy behind Mookie. You can play the lefties and just, you know, hope that you get Freeland out of the game early. So it looks like another great spot. Individually, I did want to see, so if Jason Hayward's in the lineup, 5% ownership there. We have 22 coming to Freeman, 15 to Muncy. So not getting too much of a discount on the left-handed bats, but, you know, a little bit compared to like Mookie, for example.
If it is Michael Grove, you know, he's only thrown 32 innings. He's only pitched 32 innings this year, but 288 x ISO against lefties so far, 475 actual WOBA, 424 x WOBA. 188 x ISO against righties. The Colorado Rockies are just terrible, you know, across the board, but offensively, I think they got 3 hit yesterday at Coors Field and blanked. I mean, just a really awful team, even at Coors Field, where you and I discussed yesterday. They even have a top 5 K rate at home at Coors this year. If it's Grove, who has struggled and has allowed a lot of power, he's allowed 8 home runs in 39 or in 32 innings pitched. So that's been a real problem. Will you have any interest in the Colorado Rocky bats today?
Yeah, just because they're in cores, they're facing a pitcher. Like you said, Grove has shown good strikeout stuff, but he has had power issues. 188 expected ISO to righties, 288 to lefties. Nolan Jones, Ryan McMahon, I think are the two that are really going to stand out here. Profar looks fine. So yeah, like they're going to be the lower owned side here by a lot. Right now we have them projected for 5% aggregate ownership. So they're fine in tournaments. But that being said, I do also have some interest in Grove at 5,300 if he's the one starting. Right now we only have him projected for 1% ownership. If that ownership comes up, then obviously my interest level lowers, but only 5,300. Went 2 innings through 19 pitches in his last appearance, but prior to that, 92 pitches, 85, 83. If he starts this game, I expect that you can, you know, at least get 4 or 5 innings out of him, if not more. And the Rockies do suck. So when you're getting 1% ownership to him and 22% to somebody like Dane Dunning, it does stand out as a potential pivot spot. Like, because you have to keep in mind, like a lot of Dunning's 22% ownership, for example, is going to be people playing the same expensive Dodgers. And so if you can turn Dunning, like if you're stacking the Dodgers, maybe it makes sense to go Grove instead of Dunning and be different that way. So as long as the ownership stays down, I do think that there's a ceiling for him at 5,300.
Any other bats? Anything else we want to talk about here? That Colorado versus Grove is a really weird spot too, because like Grove could just get shelled because it's Coors, or he could look great because the Rockies are terrible.
It's a spot where, and again, this isn't as much the case on a 13-game slate because there are just so many spots that can go off, but it does stand out as one of those spots where only 5% ownership coming into Colorado, only 1% coming into Grove. There's a pretty good chance one of those sides ends up being useful, right, especially when you consider that they're all relatively inexpensive.
You guys hear us talk about the tools all the time, whether it's the top stack, top pitchers tool, MMA tools in all of our shows, the NASCAR, PGA. It might feel like the dog days of summer, but I can assure you it's not, right? Like you got so much going on, so many massive prize pools for all of these sports. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it's 50% off everything that we have, weekly or monthly, however you want to play it. Whether you were like, hey, I want to do a week of baseball or a month of baseball, or you go, you know what? I want to try these other sports and I want to take advantage of this by saying, I don't know them, but I'm going to use the tools and I'm going to trust in the tools to make the decisions for me and hopefully have some results with that, because I'm not injecting my own personal bias and screwing up all my lineups. You can do that with any of these. That's why we have all of the tools, and we do it 50% off because we expect you to win and we think you're going to stick around. So if you want, link in the description and in chat, get you 50% off everything, weekly or monthly, one sport, all sports. And if you're someone saying, hey, I've seen a lot of comments recently about the MLB lineup generator, right? I saw that $10,000 win that Laffy's been showing from one of our lineup generator users. I saw the 50,000 win on the exact same night from one of our lineup generator users. I want to try it out for myself. Well, you're in luck. It's $4.48 for the first week. And then it's only $8.99 after that, by the way. It's not like, oh, $4.48. Oh shit. Now it's $70 for the week. No, it's $8.95 for the week after that. But you're getting in at $4.48, less than $4.50. Test drive everything. There's nothing to lose here outside of less than $4.50, which you spend on probably much more insane stuff throughout the week, throughout a night. When you're sleeping, you're spending that type of money. If you're wondering, hey, how do I do this? How do I use the lineup generator that's feeding me lineups where it gives you the optimal projection, it gives you the ownership projection, whether it's going to be a chalky or a contrarian lineup, where you can set your own stack types. You can make either chalky lineups, contrarian, all lineups. You can lock players in. You can swap players out, upload everything to CSV as well, which is pretty sweet. And you can discard or save as many lineups as you want to optimize for mobile. So if you're running short on time or you're just a lower stakes player who enjoys making lineups on your phone, we got you there. I mean, across the board, no matter what style of player you are, why not take $4.48 and be like, you know what, I'm going to try this out and see how it works for me because it's working for everyone else. And if it doesn't, you wash your hands clean of it and you go, yeah, I spent $4 on a cup of coffee, essentially, except I had a real shot of winning money. And maybe you do. Maybe you end up being one of those monster winners. We'll see. But anyway, link to all that stuff in the description, lineup generator or all our tools. If you do 50% off everything, the lineup generator for PGA and MLB is included in that, in case you were wondering. You get all of it with all the tools. Anyway, let's close this one out. We got 2 games to go. Where are we at? Tampa Bay. 3 games to go. White Sox and the Angels. Adam, Lucas Giolito, Jaime Barria. What do you make of this one? 8.5 run total. Is there pitching in this that you want to get to?
Barria's sort of interesting at 6,800 just because he's not getting any ownership. Only went a few innings last time out, but prior to that, they had stretched him out to where he threw 93 pitches on the 13th against Texas. On the 7th, he threw 76. He threw 90 on the 31st. So I don't know exactly how deep he's going to go, but the strikeout stuff has been solid this year. The White Sox aren't very good offensively. It's another spot where, like, I don't love getting to Barria, but he's 2% owned, basically an identical top 2 pitcher percentage as Dane Dunning, $700 more. So you're talking about a 10% price increase, but range of outcomes is about the same. I think he's an interesting way to be different in tournaments when you do need to pay down.
Do you think there's viable hitting in a spot like this? The Angels in the top stack tool pulling very little ownership right now. Matter of fact, 0.8% ownership, one of the lowest owned teams, the lowest owned stack overall. Very low value score on them as well, Adam. So that's certainly playing into this one. Chicago White Sox against Barria are getting around 3% top stack probability as well.
And I forgot to mention it because I was talking about Barria as a contrarian play. Giolito looks perfectly fine at 9,300. Tough park to pitch in. Obviously, you have to deal with Trout, Ohtani, and plenty of other guys that have power. Not a safe matchup at all. 4.6 implied run total. The strikeout upside's there. He's getting about 16% ownership. Looking at the top 2 pitchers tool, you do get a price gap between him and Senga, Snell, Nola. I'd still prefer to get to Senga, Snell, Nola when I can, but there's not a lot in Giolito's price range that looks better. So it's sort of like if you have more money than like Logan Allen, but you can't quite get the Senga, Snell, Nola, Giolito's fine. His biggest issue this year has been that he's just gotten blasted by left-handed power. It's not that he's been horrible against lefties overall, 25% K percentage, 318 expected WOBA, but just making enough mistakes against them. 231 actual ISO, 260 expected. Shohei Ohtani is going to look fantastic. Mickey Moniak, if he's leading off at 4,200, is a good play. Clearly, you can throw Trout in there, make it a 3-man, or just go 2-man Moniak Ohtani. You can use Matt Dice as a catcher option. So I'm interested in some of the left-handed bats from the Angels for sure, and then obviously Mike Trout as well.
What did the Phillies get when they gave up Moniak?
Brandon Marsh, I
Is
think.
that what it was?
I think.
I feel like they gave up on Moniak a little early.
Yeah, he's actually been good this year.
He's been real good. Yeah, I mean, so Marsh is not bad. Marsh had 2 homers yesterday. Like Marsh is playing quite well.
Oh wait, never mind. It's worse. They got Noah Syndergaard.
Is that what they gave up for? That they do that shit all the time, man. It's crazy. Like, yeah.
Brandon Marsh was for, I think, the catcher, Ohapi.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah, that's bad.
Moniak was the first overall pick.
Yeah. Moniak was traded alongside prospect Jadiel Sanchez to the Angels for starting pitcher Noah Syndergaard.
They just gave up on him, and now he's having a really nice season. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be the next Mike Trout, but
he's still also only 25.
That's the thing. These guys, sometimes it takes them longer to develop, his K to BB rate is wild though.
I haven't actually looked at it. I'm pulling him up now. I haven't actually looked at his numbers. I just know that I keep playing him and he keeps doing well.
He has a 337 ISO this year.
That'll do it.
What? But yeah, his K rate 31%.
Oh, wow.
K. Well, you're looking at the K to BB rate.
2.8% walk percentage, 31% K percentage.
That's great.
172 WRC plus.
I mean, those are remarkable numbers. The K that you gotta fix out. You gotta fix the strikeouts and walk.
Every projection system still is projecting him rest of season to be below average offensively, but also to have power.
Right, and also even below average offensively for what the Phillies got back in return. You'd probably still rather have Mickey Moniak.
You would rather have somebody off the street.
Seriously.
Like, one, Syndergaard's not even on the team anymore, and 2, Syndergaard sucks.
I know. Any other interest and he was never good for Philly either.
Yeah, arguably was good for the Mets.
What's that?
I said arguably was good for the Mets.
He was good for the Mets for a little while.
I just don't like to admit it.
White Sox, Angels, anything else before we wrap this game up?
No.
Tampa Bay, Arizona, 9-run total. Tampa minus 150 on the money line. Zach Eflin towing the rubber for the Tampa Bay Rays. Zach Davies on the other side of this one. I mean, Zach Davies, the strikeout stuff on this guy is nothing short of elite. You throw Zach Davies out there, you can chalk up at least 8 or 9 strikeouts. I'm kidding, of course. This guy has 17% strikeout rate in 3 straight seasons. You know exactly what you're getting out of him. One of the most uninspiring pitchers from a fantasy standpoint that you could ever talk about.
Yeah. He's 5,200. That's like the entire good
That's
thing.
The argument. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, not the worst pitcher in terms of run prevention, but not particularly good at it. Doesn't strike guys out, like you said. Brutal matchup against Tampa Bay.
Do you have interest in Eflin? Because this is, by the way, this is a tough matchup for Eflin too, against a team in Arizona that doesn't strike out.
Yeah, he's really expensive. He's facing an above average offense. They're also difficult to strike out. It's pretty tough to make a case there. If you do, it's similar to the Logan Webb, Mitch Keller spots where he's a good pitcher getting no ownership. So if you just happen to have $10,900 and want to play a guy that has no ownership, that's fine. But going to be really, really, really tough to get to him.
Yeah, you know who else got really good when he left Philly? Zach Eflin.
I mean, you knew that as soon as the Rays sought him out.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. If they work magic with some of these guys. Imagine if some of these pitchers actually had a longer leash than they do. They'd all be over 10K.
Oh yeah. 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 As soon as you see the Rays organization take an active interest in a guy that you're giving up on, you need to not give up on him.
Exactly. That's right. Like when you, I don't know how offers and everything work, but I don't know. I get, like, if you saw an offer from the Rays, do you just offer more? You
should, like, every free agent that you're trying to make the decision of, like, are you going to let them walk or not? You should just tell them that you're not interested in re-signing them, but if Tampa makes them an offer, you'll pay them 15% more than Tampa.
It would probably be a wise decision long-term to just do that.
The Orioles are turning into that too, which is so much fun because they used to be the opposite end. But like when the Yankees released Hicks and the Orioles signed them because Mullins was hurt, the Orioles GM, he didn't flat out say it, but he was like, Yeah, I think we're gonna be successful with Hicks. And I just read it like they see something in his swing that they're gonna fix and he's gonna be good. And it's been the case.
Or just offer whoever's the mastermind in the front office 100% more than he's making.
Yeah, that would be the easy way to do it, I guess.
I mean, it'd be less than paying a pitcher. And now you'd have that across all pitchers.
And the crazy thing with the Rays, it's been multiple front offices too. Like Feldman was the original one that got things turned around there, and he went to the Dodgers, and they just keep it going.
I mean, people have to learn the process, right? There's got to be people in there who over time learn the process,
right?
Like it trickles down to more than just one guy. But yeah, really amazing front office on that team. Who knows? Maybe they get there this year. It's possible. Do you like any bats from this game?
Tampa Bay, 4.9 implied run total. Decent matchup against Davies. Doesn't miss a lot of bats. Only a 146 expected ISO to lefties, 115 to righties, but it's one of the best offenses in baseball because you have the Dodgers on the slate. You're not going to get that much ownership. 4.5% ownership, aggregate ownership coming into Tampa. 6% chance of being the top stack. I like the upside.
We'll wrap this one up. By the way, we need 9 likes away from 100 here. If you've yet to listen, it's a morning. I get it. I didn't get great night's sleep last night. Didn't get home till midnight. But I forget things as well. Probably have multiple times throughout this show. It's likely actually, but just a subtle reminder that, if you forgot, take a single second and hit that thumbs up, atone for your sins here. Show us a little bit of love. Get us north of that century mark so we can go on with the rest of our day feeling good about ourselves, and you can have good things come your way as well. So there we go. 100 likes. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the 109 of you specifically right now who took that second out of your day to help us out. Let's talk about New York Yankees and the Oakland A's. So we'll wrap it up with this one. Domingo Germán, JP Sears. Is this a spot where either side, whether it's pitching or hitting, stands out in the big way? And I should point out, of course, that Domingo Germán right now, 26% ownership, second highest owned pitcher on the slate. JP Sears, fourth highest owned pitcher on the slate at 7,100. And to much of what you and I spoke about yesterday, Adam, there were a lot of pitchers that performed well in that range, whether it was Wu, Peterson, Ranger Suarez had an outstanding game against the Cubs. So here's another one of those guys that's sitting in that 7K price range that we can talk about, who's pulling ownership.
Sears is really interesting here. 4.4 implied run total for the Yankees. Seems kind of high. You have a huge park downgrade going from Yankee Stadium to Oakland. But Sears has had good strikeout numbers against righties. He's also had power issues. So I'm not saying it's safe, but a 26% K percentage to righties, only 7,100. The Yankees are still without Judge, which really waters down that lineup. Donaldson has looked like a shell of himself. It's still dangerous. Torres, Bader, Stanton, maybe Donaldson figures it out tonight, LeMahieu, but it's a pretty weak lineup overall without Judge. Their active roster since the start of last season, 115 WRC plus against lefties, 19% strikeout percentage. But again, Sears does have an above average strikeout percentage against righties. He's in a good park that limits power. So I don't mind taking some chances on him. The ownership is there. He's pulling 20%. And then similarly for Domingo Germán at 8K, I get why he's popular. Like, he's facing Oakland in Oakland. Overall this year, he's been solid. 22.5% K percentage, 4.37 xFIP. He's coming off of 2 really bad starts back-to-back against Boston and Seattle. My bigger question, though, is just why is he getting 25% ownership at the same price as Logan Allen, who's getting 5? Even Drew Smyly. Like, I'm not really that interested in Drew Smyly, but Smyly has a similar top 2 pitcher percentage, and he's getting 10. Like, I think those guys should just be closer together. Even Braxton Garrett, tough matchup, much better pitcher than Germán, getting 125th the ownership. So maybe that ownership number comes down, but that does strike me as a price range where, I think Germán is a perfectly fine play. The ownership just really stands out as like, there's a lot of guys around him that I'm just as comfortable / uncomfortable with that aren't getting much at all.
You're right, though. Like, listen, $8,000 is not a bad price for Domingo Germán against Oakland, but 22.5% K rate on the season. You know, he's been lit up on many occasions. He's allowing almost 2 home runs per 9. It's, you know, objectively a good matchup in a favorable park, but this isn't some guy that's just wildly underpriced to the point where everybody else around him should be unowned and he absorbs all of that ownership, even though Oakland's active roster strikes out at 25% against righties.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, again, it's a good spot. And if this were a shorter slate or just a slate where you didn't have other guys around him, the ownership would make more sense. It's just, you know, looking at the top two, at the top pitchers tool, Logan Allen, 8K, 10.5% chance of being top 2. Smiley, 7,400, 8.5%. Erman, 8K, 8.5%. Garrett, 8,700, 8.5%. And Erman's just getting more than double the ownership of all of them. Erman's getting more ownership by himself than Allen, Smiley, and Garrett combined.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just changes, but it shouldn't be that way.
So we just stack Oakland today.
Yeah.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. Any other bats you want to talk about in this game before we wrap this up?
Nope.
All right. Hey, appreciate you guys hanging out with us as always. Always fun on a Wednesday morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe before you go. Remember, too, sleeper, first match deposit bonus, $100 up to 100, or 100% up to $100. They got the discount on Aaron Nola today. If you're in non-legal sports betting sites, treat these pick'em sites like sports books. Get every promo bonus that you can, and each day search all of them to figure out where all of the best free squares are, where all of the best discounted plays are. We have that all in the pick'em package over on OddsShopper, but assuming you're not subbed there, do it on your own, do it manually, do it with the tools, take advantage of all of them, get your free money, and always make the plus EV spots, the plus EV cards. Sleeper's one that maybe you're not at yet. Great opportunity to get in today with them giving the discount on Aaron Nola and the 100% first match deposit bonus up to $100. And of course, you want the lineup generator for $448 for the first week or 50% off all of our tools. You know where to find the links in the description and in chat. You guys are the best. Follow Adam at Ship My Money DFS, me at Laffy_D, and shout out to Mike for producing this one. We'll see you back here mañana on the Strategy Show right here on the Stochastic YouTube's channel.